Alright, we're going to try a different angle here so you can see this a little bit better, but right now I got the rip fence set, so it's going to cut the top, and I set it for just slightly over 3/8 because that was the thickness of the boards. I think after all the sanding and this, smoothing it down, I think I got roughly 1/4 inch. Maybe I want to raise it up about 1/2 inch for the blade, just to make sure. 1/2 inch to 5/8. I'd say 5/8. We're gonna cut this cross cut first on the table. Go slow, and hopefully your table cut's a little bit better than mine. Mine's got a little bit of a wobble, but I work with it until I get something better. Alright, so it seems like my cut ended up being about 3/4 of an inch thickness with the thickness of the top, which I didn't plan on, but it happened, so we're going to run with it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my fence to match up with the same depth that I have here on the side. Okay, so I'm going to do my cross cut here on the bottom, or on the side first, then I will end up having to do it on each side. And make sure it's tight to the rip fence. Alright, so now I just have to line up the blade with the cut here, and then finish the cut through. Okay, so it comes apart, looks just like this. So what we got to do now is clean this up a little bit, and then discuss the next part of the project. Okay, so one determining factor I didn't plan on was the top kind of shrunk down. As you can see, there's a slight height difference. These gaps can be filled and no one will even really notice them if you fill them properly. I guess this is what happens when I have a dream and I wasn't planning on it coming together like this. But okay, so what I did to fix this problem is I took my top and I figured out how much I had to shave off the top here with the sander to level it out.
Now, I came up with a really cool idea. I'm going to add a couple of hinges to the side so that this will actually fold open. Kind of another random off-the-wall idea, but the more I looked at it, it works. And I will show that later on in my video. But what I have here is this strip, which I already had pre-cut quite a while ago. It's 1/8 inch thick piece of mahogany. And these are going to be the fern strips. Now the fern strips will actually be adhered on the inside of the box along these edges right here. And the cool thing about that is that you only need just a little bit of these strips hanging up. You don't want them really long, and you only need them on each side since you're going to be putting the hinges on the back side. Keep everything flush.
Okay, so I put one of the strips in. Now I'm cutting the other one. I figured out the length I needed was 5 3/8 for my box. Now, the thing is, you want to make sure, you know, that you apply a generous amount of glue. In some cases, you might need to put a strip to the back of your box, but I don't think I'm going to need it because of the hinge. Now all these do is just keep that lid from sliding from side to side, really. That's all this is going to do. I need to find a couple small clamps. Here we go. Now make sure you give these a little while to dry. They have to be in there pretty solid before you can really start messing around with fitting a top. Now I'm probably going to end up pre-drilling and pre-assembling the top before I actually finish it, but I'm going to unscrew it and take it all back apart. Then really after you're done finishing it, whether you're using poly, let it dry up good and hard, or using like a tung oil or teak oil like I am. I'm a big fan of teak oil. You can let your finish dry if need be, and then put your screws back in the holes for your hinges. Now, I've already filled in my holes from the saw earlier, and I've started to put the hardware together. I didn't really need to sand this and round the edge like I did on my wood books, but there's a couple more areas that may need a little more putty. But as you can see here, right there, and you can't really see it, is where I sealed those up with a little bit of that glue and mahogany sawdust. And I got a couple more screws to put in, but I just wanted to show you that this actually opens up really nice. And right here is what those fern strips look like. And I have them sticking out anywhere from usually like a 1/16 to an 1/8. So when you go to close it, it helps hold it from moving from side to side. Okay. Now, I've already filled in my holes from the saw earlier, and I've started to put the hardware together. I didn't really need to sand this and round the edge like I did on my wood books, but there's a couple more areas that may need a little more putty. But as you can see here, right there, and you can't really see it, is where I sealed those up with a little bit of that glue and mahogany sawdust. And I got a couple more screws to put in, but I just wanted to show you that this actually opens up really nice. And right here is what those fern strips look like. And I have them sticking out anywhere from usually like a 1/16 to an 1/8. So when you go to close it, it helps hold it from moving from side to side. As you can see, it's good and solid. Now, what I did with the hinges was I lined them up with the top seam and I measured it out. So as you can see, they're pretty even. Drill in the holes for the toothbrush and for the shaver. Now, I recommend going a little bit bigger than what you have for the tube, because sometimes the end of your toothbrush gets bigger, it could get smaller. It's kind of hard to tell, you know, each design is different when you go and buy it. I know for me it's always different. So what I'm using here is a 1/2-inch bit on my Craftsman. I'm going to put a couple holes in this. Go slow so you don't break it like that. So now that we know that happened, I'll show you how to fix mistakes like this. Alright, so on the next how-to video here on this box, I'm taking a chisel and I'm scraping off all the excess. I did resand a piece and it feels like it's going to have to be sanded down more. And, well, I'm switching the direction of the grain on this, which will be fine. It's not going to hurt its strength or its performance. Now what I'm doing is I'm just scribing this so that way there I can cut this down on the saw, and I'm going to put it in my vise clamp, and I'm going to pre-drill the 1/2-inch holes before I take this any further down sanding. Okay, so now I used a 1-inch hole saw because, well, my shaver was much too big for the 1/2-inch. So it will fit in there sort of like so. Then the toothbrush will stick up a little higher in here. I had to take my 1/2-inch and kind of hone it out a little bit. You want to keep in mind too that there's ways of hanging these. There's lasers you can buy, and they got like a little tack in them, and you tack it on your drywall so it doesn't leave like this nasty looking hole or anything, or tape on your paint. And what I do is I use that to keep my screws aligned and flush. But there you have it. We have the finished product, and the hangers are installed. So this job is a wrap. We are done with it. I want to thank you for joining me in JJ's workshop, and I look forward to sharing more how-to videos on a lot of my projects that I build here at home, that I post on Facebook, and that people really love. And definitely check out my Facebook page, JJ's Workshop, facebook.com, and keep up to date on pictures and all my other ideas that I will be posting soon. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.